Since its launch in 2005, Broad Street Review has sought to promote the exchange of viewpoints rather than any particular point of view. To that end, we welcome commentary from professionals and amateurs alike about the performing and visual arts, as well as any other field of interest to our eclectic group of contributors. The following interview was submitted to Broad Street Review, powered by Rep Radio.
Getting our lunch break, hustle on. And I'm sitting across the table from Jackie Goldfinger. Jackie, welcome back to Rep Radio. I was thinking about how long it's been, and I think the last time we sat down was 2013. And we were at your house that time.
Yes, thank you for having me back. That was around the time my kids were born, so the last couple of years have just been a blur of insanity. Yeah. Thank you for having me back.
So you've done nothing since then except raise children.
Raise children and write plays, which has been a lot of fun.
Yes. So we're here to talk about your upcoming piece called The Arsonists. That's plural. which is a rolling world premiere, and it starts with Azuka Theatre Company, who handles world premieres with such care.
They're fantastic.
Really yeah. So let's catch up a little bit. How's life been in the past 4 years?
Life has been the best of times and the worst of times. I think until you have kids, you don't know the extremes, the wild extremes that life can bring. We ended up having twins, which was exciting and also crazy making.
Yeah.
Have two at once. But one of the reasons that I wrote The Arsonists was because I became much more interested in and much more engaged by parent-child relationships and how those relationships change over the years because of the fact that I had kids. So The Arsonist is about a father-daughter arson team, and it explores a lot of the dynamics between parents and children as the children grow up, as the parents age. I think that we always think of our parents as these standing still, frozen beings, but they're not. They're growing and changing just as much as we are. And so the play explores a lot of that.
Yeah. So I read that it's inspired by a Greek tragedy.
Yes.
Elektra. And I'm not familiar. So tell us about it. Tell us a little bit about Elektra and how it ties in.
Sure. So it began as more of an adaptation of Elektra, and then in drafts it moved away from adaptation just to be inspired by, because Elektra is a story about a daughter dealing with the loss of her father and the extremes to which she will go to avenge and have his death recognized.
Yeah.
So in our story, we have a father-daughter arson team. Arson has been a tradition in their family for years. Much like Elektra is dealing and living in the world of tradition her family has created. But in our story, the father actually gets killed accidentally in an arson that they set. And so she buries him, and then in dealing with her grief, summons him back to life with music they used to play together.
Oh, wow.
And they go on a journey where she is learning to let him go, and he is learning to let go of life and move on. And we tell it through poetry, not rhyming poetry, but we use the poetic form. We glean from the poetic form of the Greek tragedies. And then we also incorporate traditional American music in live performance in the play, much like the Greeks would mix a lot of different theatrical and performance traditions in their work. So it's not definitely now not an adaptation, it's just inspired by, but a lot of what is there, we're all jumping off points for our story.
Did you always envision this to be a play with music?
I did. I really love music. I also really love, when I was growing up, music was a huge part of my childhood. My father is an amateur musician, and he would play with bands. They primarily played blues and zydeco and traditional American forms. And so I loved the idea of writing a play that combined my experiences as a parent with my parents' experiences as a parent, using the music that we all shared and that binds us together as a family, no matter where we go geographically. There can be a song my sister can call and sing a part of a song on a voicemail message and hang up, and I know exactly what she needs and exactly why I should call back. So I love the idea of using that, and also exploring the fact that my parents are getting older, and so what is it going to be letting them go? And what is that going to be the experience for my children, and how all those dynamics play out? So it seemed to work well together.
I love when you have that kind of relationship with someone. My best friend and I, every now and then he'll just send me a text that's sort of a quote from a movie or something that, it's sort of a finish this. So he'll send me, did you hear? And I know exactly what it's from, and then I'll complete it. And then we just go back and forth on things. His girlfriend just recently fell in love with Hamilton. So now...
Oh my God, isn't in love with Hamilton, right?
I know, so now they're quoting Hamilton at me. And funny, she just asked me to, she's like, you gotta get me tickets to Hamilton. And I was like, getting you tickets to Hamilton is like giving you my firstborn. And I was like, if I come anywhere near tickets to Hamilton, I'm not even gonna think about you for a minute.
Well, I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is such an inspiration for many reasons, but one of which is because he was able to take something older and staid and something we think we know and turn it into something new that feels very contemporary and very urgent. And actually, I looked at a number of both adaptations and work just based on real events when I was doing research for the Arsonists. And Hamilton is that perfect example of, I'm taking the bones of my ancestors and we're rising them up to a new level and breathing life back into them today. So they walk and talk to us. So he's an incredible inspiration.
I like the concept of plays with music. Because they're not musicals per se, but they're inspired or helps tell the story. And it reminds me of storytellers. I think VH1 gets credit for storytellers, but other organizations have done a similar thing. But it allows people who think that they may not be interested in plays, but they do like that conversational intimacy of like a singer-songwriter or sort of an acoustic kind of musical events, and tying those two together, it says, see, you do actually like this, and for us, we just love a play with music, this ought to be fun, and it's original music, and you get to walk away with things that end up like, now I'm tapping my foot to that one song, and so on. Tell us, take us through the process. Tell us when did the process of the Arsonists start, and did you always envision it to be a play with music?
Sure. We started the play about 2 years ago. I was in the incredibly lucky and luxurious position of Azuka said, we're going to produce all 3 plays in your Southern Gothic trilogy, even though all 3 of them were not written yet. So it was nice to know I had a production to look forward to, and I had that coming out. And I was also incredibly lucky that I had recently become really good friends with Sarah Glico, who's a performer in town, singer-songwriter, musician, actress. I mean, like, if someone were to say to you, we need someone who can do any role, like, they'd have to play the shark in Jaws, I'd be like, Sarah Glico could play the shark in Jaws. Like, I'm pretty...
And married to Aminen.
Exactly. Like, there are just these... We're so lucky in this community to have these phenomenal performers that are so versatile. And so I knew that I wanted to write I had the idea for the Arsonists, and then as soon as I spent more time with Sarah and heard her sing, I was like, she's a perfect performer. And she introduced me. I'd seen Stephen Richard on the stage, but I didn't know him know individually. And so I got to know him a little bit better through Sarah, and their chemistry was just explosive. Like, put them on stage together, I almost didn't have to write anything for them. Like, they're just incredibly compelling, and they have this amazing connection. So I wrote the first draft with them in mind, and then the phenomenal Krista Apple let us use her house. Aww. And we did a literal in-house workshop at Krista's house with Steve and Sarah, and from that workshop I was able to revise it. And then we were very lucky. The Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts has a new work development program, and basically it's a program where they're like, we probably won't produce this, but we think it's really great, and so we want to support the development. And so Stephen, Sarah, Ed Sobel, and I went and spent some time in DC at the Kennedy Center developing it, and then brought it back to Azuka where we did the final polish. So it was a phenomenal experience, and when we were choosing music, it was great to have Sarah, who was versed in some of the traditional American music already, so she was able to help pick and sort what would be the best fit for these characters in these moments. So it was nice to have a collaborator in that way. And then Ed Sobel, of course, is an amazing dramaturgical brain. So I was very lucky to have the support of all those phenomenal artists at the beginning and middle of the process. And then at the end, we started working with Allison Heichman and Sally Olive and Kevin Glackham at Azuka to figure out, like, what's the final state of this. And a lot of that was informed by knowing that I could do absolutely anything at Azuka. Like, Dirk is going to make sure whatever we want to do is beautifully realized in terms of design. We had all these phenomenal... Andrew came on with music. Like, the great thing about working with Azuka is that they're, like, phenomenal theater on a small budget. And they're like, we may have a smaller budget than other theaters in town, but we're going to be imaginative and creative and find a way to do whatever you want to do, and then execute it well. And having that kind of freedom within a company and never having to worry about, oh, this can't happen because the company can't figure it out. Like, that's never a concern. So that's a great feeling.
I don't know if you can hear it, audience, but there's like a power ballad playing right now. And it's like so fitting. It's kind of like the romanticism, like the passion that Azuka brings. It's just so...
So, yeah, we totally timed that, Darnell. That was great timing.
It was all planned out. Okay, you can fade it out now. You can fade it out. It's good.
So that was the process. And it was exciting,
So, there have been quite a few productions in Philadelphia that have been part of the National New Play Network rolling world premiere sort of program. Tell me how that came about. Was that always, and we're going to make this a rolling world premiere? How does a production become a rolling world premiere?
Sure. So the rolling world premiere is premised on the idea that playwrights and collaborators learn the most when they see a piece in production. They can see it in production, then after the production make changes, and then go directly into another production. Which is true. Like, if you see something fully realized, it's much clearer what you need to do in order to fix it. So it is strengthening plays through multiple productions that all occur within 1 year. So it's a phenomenal program that's run by the National New Play Network. No one else in the country does it. So, I mean, we are incredibly lucky to be a part of it. And the National New Play Network has a network of 50 or 60 member theaters around the country at this point who are interested in not just new play development, but producing new plays and helping those new plays find future lives, so getting other productions. And what happens is that if an NNPN theater is interested in your show, that individual theater can submit to NNPN, all the other NNPN theaters, and say, look, we are interested in doing this world premiere production. is anyone interested in making a rolling world premiere so the creators of this piece have a chance to see it back to back and revise in between and make it the best it can absolutely be.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here, was that actually both Azuka and actually Vermont Stage really loved the piece and were kind enough to submit it for the NNPN's Rolling World Premiere program, and that is when Capital Stage, Snow Theatre, and Perseverance jumped on. Strikingly, Vermont ended up not doing it, even though they love it, because the artistic director likes another one of my pieces. So we're going to be developing that piece for next season.
Awesome.
But it is, there's no program like it in the country. It's amazing.
How many pieces are running around in your brain at one time?
That's a great question.
Because I always have ideas.
Yes.
It's the part of me that loves being a wallflower.
Oh.
Because I observe the space, and usually as soon as I get that moment of clarity, I pull out my phone and then I flood my notes with a, fully imagined synopsis of the idea of a play idea, and then I'm like, if I can get this out right now, I will get to it later, because I don't have deadlines, and a deadline focuses the lights. So
sure.
But having them out there just makes it easier for me to just kind of grab one and go with it, but didn't factor in everything that life has done throughout the time, from the time I put it on paper until now.
How long is your process in that?
Oh, my process is forever because there's no deadline. It's probably not the right way to do things, but it's partly because so many things changed with me and my company. So like Rep Radio took the front seats and sort of represented, kind of is the supporting backseat driver going, we produce plays.
Yes.
There's plays back here to produce, and I'm like, calm down, I got another interview to do. But that's changing soon. Stay tuned.
Yay! I'll watch out for it.
Yes. And so as we're chatting, you are the first interview of our 8th season.
Woo!
8 years of Rep Radio, over 450 podcasts. And
congratulations.
Very excited about that.
That's amazing. That's a wonderful record, especially given the state of financing for the arts and things. Like, the fact that you've kept this going is a huge testament to you.
If you had any idea how much it costs.
I know. I cannot even imagine.
It is funny because I do have technically I have a lost 100 episodes. They're on a hard drive that's damaged, and I just can't part with that hard drive.
Oh no!
But one day I will flesh them. I will pull them out, and I've got like some of them in various places. But oh my god! Every time I look at that hard drive, I'm like, one day you'll get there. One day I'm gonna get those out. So the process of the Arsonists was about 2 years, and how has the piece changed over that time? You did mention how it was inspired by Elektra, but it's not so much through that now. But how many readings were in that, and what sort of feedback were you getting through that process?
Sure. So the first draft was much more an adaptation, a more straightforward adaptation.
And how long did it take you to do the first draft?
I'm a quick writer. I'm a slower idea person. So, I mean, I probably wrote the first draft in a couple weeks.
Okay.
But it takes me a while to flesh out the idea. I need to know, some people just flat out write, and that's great. It all comes together as they're writing. I tend to like having a more fleshed out idea to hang my writing on.
Yeah.
So I'd been thinking about it, well, since we did The Terrible Girls at Azuka in 2000, what was that, 2010? 2009? I'm sorry. 2010, I think.
I'll put those notes in. I'll put those in the show notes, people.
Because we did conceive of it as a trilogy, a Southern Gothic trilogy. Terrible Girls, Skin and Bone, The Arsonists. And the idea is that they can be watched individually and enjoyed as individual stories, or you can do a whole day or night of theater, do them in rep. and it would last about 4.5 hours, and you could see these 3 separate stories that were connected by theme and genre.
Yeah.
So I'd been thinking about the Arsonists, and I think I had a proposal to Azuka soon after The Terrible Girls in 2010, 2011. But I had to write Skin and Bone first, and then I had to give birth to 2 babies. And then...
Because that was important.
Because that was important. They really wanted to come out. And so probably the writing has only been the past 2 years, but we definitely been thinking about the story and how it fit into the trilogy from the beginning.
Yeah. So how many...
We only did 2 public readings, and then I did the one in-house workshop at Krista's house. We did a public reading at the Kennedy Center and then a public reading at Azuka. But this was a play, so much of it was music and movement and a heightened poetic style, that instead of doing a lot of public readings, we ended up doing a lot of individual work at my house or at other locations with Sarah and Stephen, because the reading, just given the style of the piece, the reading could only get us so far.
Yeah.
So it's, a lesson in, for me, I find it's important to adapt the process of each piece to the needs of the piece. Mm-hmm. And so the needs of the piece were a lot less reading heavy for this one and a lot more in a room working it together.
Talk about how many musical pieces make up the Arsonists and the complementary music that will go along with it.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. So there are 4 songs in the show that are traditional American tunes that we have rearranged. Mm-hmm. And then, because there is so much music that we did not get to use, and also we have such a fantastic community here of live musicians who are interested in the transformation of traditional roots music in different ways. Mm-hmm. We've partnered with Fly Bottle Records, which is a local record company. They put out like the West Philadelphia Orchestra records, things like that. And they have created a new album, which will have a launch party the same day as the world premiere.
Nice.
Called The Arsonists. And what it is that it is music from the show performed by some of our actors, as well as new music written by local artists who read the play or came and watched one of the readings and then wrote pieces inspired by the play.
Nice.
In different traditions, all based in some type of American roots music, but different. And then a couple of songs, like we have a Pixies song. We have a couple of songs that work thematically with the play, but have been reimagined through the lens of one of our local musicians and their style. So it'll be fun. So you'll be able to come to the show, and you'll be able to see the show, and then you'll be able to either buy the CD or download the music. And then Fly Bottle Records is sponsoring concerts on Friday and Saturday nights. So if you come to the show on Friday and Saturday nights, you can come see the show, which runs about 80 minutes, no intermission, mm-hmm. and then they're going to turn over the space, and then you can come and see a concert by one of the local musicians.
Oh, that'll be great.
And they'll have beer, and it'll be fun, and so it's really one of the things that I'm interested in is making event theater, mm-hmm. and the intersection of different performance genres in creating those events.
Yeah.
I think An Octoroon did that beautifully. Mm-hmm. A very different play, but like using the local band, having some original music, having some pieces of the play put to music. Like, it really made that play more resonant for our community and feel like our community, even though it's a text that was created somewhere else by an artist that's not from here. So I think, and I also think that, frankly, Azuka tends to be a theater that a lot of younger people in our community attend. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I, as a younger audience member, and my friends, and definitely my stepdaughter who's in college now, are interested in is, like, what is my whole night going to be?
Yeah.
It's going to a show, great, but, like, if I can go to a show and then grab a drink with friends and then go see a concert and then, like, all of these things are melding and evolving.
Yeah.
So one of the questions Azuka's asking is, like, how do we meld and evolve with our community and our audiences, which is exciting.
Yeah. And what a great space.
Such a great space. The Drake.
To do that in. And this year with the Pay What You Decide, makes it so much more accessible. So I imagine as a playwright, this is such a huge benefit because all they have to do is decide what day they want to go.
Yes, absolutely.
It has nothing to do with money.
Nope.
And when you get there, I mean, there's no way you can walk out of a theatrical performance and not feel like you got your money's worth, and whatever that is. You go,
right.
How much are normal tickets? Because that's what I would pay. And I love this concept, and I love the fact that it's, so many companies have spent so much time trying to find ways to get more people into theaters, and I think this is a great way to do that.
Absolutely. And the Pay What You Decide is especially meaningful for me as someone who was left out of theater when I was younger because we didn't have the money to participate.
Yeah.
I grew up in a rural area. There was a group of fairly wealthy people who decided to start a performing arts organization for youth and then charged so much that only their kids could afford to go.
Yeah.
So it made me feel at a very young age that theater was not welcoming to me, that is not a space for me. And it just makes me so angry looking back as a theater artist, a teacher. No one should feel like that.
Yeah.
Like, no one should feel like they can't tell their story somewhere because they don't have enough money, because their parents aren't rich enough.
Yeah.
Or, this is antithetical to why we do this. So I was really excited because I know the Pay What You Decide model is something Azuka had been thinking about for a long time, but we're trying to make sure that it didn't crash the company financially.
Yeah, definitely.
So I actually wrote a paragraph for them when they submitted to the Barra Foundation for this fantastic grant, and thank God for Barra. They were like, yes, we want to try this, and we want to do it with you. And it's yielded phenomenal results. You go and you sit in an Azuka audience, and you see the next generation of theater goers.
Yes. Yeah.
In all of its forms, in all ages, and all gender identifications, and all of the, and racially across the board. You see people coming in from the suburbs for a show, and you see someone taking the subway down from North Philly, and you see someone taking the bus over from the Italian market to all come see the show.
Yeah.
It really has made the company's audiences much more representative of our communities.
Yeah.
And it's been fantastic.
I think that's great.
And thanks to Barra for trying it out, right?
Way to go, Barra. Holler at Rep Radio. Give us a chance. Do you have do you have favorite songs that are a part of the Arsonists?
I do. There's this beautiful song called Train on the Island, which is about a woman letting go of a relationship. And the song is it's very haunting. It's like, you think like a song that would be sung like in Appalachia across the mountaintops when you see the train leaving in the distance with someone you love on it. And as much as you love them, you can't go because it's not your home anymore. Like, it's this beautiful song, and Sarah does a gorgeous rendering. But I was also excited, like, there's a song Break My Body, which is actually a contemporary song that we couldn't use in the play, so they got the rights to do it on the CD. So, like, it's also been really great to see some of the songs that I found inspiring find a home somewhere, even if it wasn't in the play itself. Yeah. Which was really cool.
That's cool. So, what inspired you to create a Southern Gothic trilogy from the beginning?
Sure. So I grew up in rural North Florida, and growing up, you primarily, at least in the Deep South where I was, you read almost exclusively Southern literature, for good, bad, or worse. Like, or ugly, you read Shakespeare, and then you read Southern literature. So I grew up steeped in the Southern Gothic tradition. You know, you think the tradition of Flannery O'Connor and Zora Neale Hurston and William Faulkner and all of those people. Yeah. And so when I became more engaged with theater and I started writing theater and participating when I was older, I was really shocked that this genre, which was so meaningful to me, but also such a huge part of the American literary canon, and such a fantastic way to tell stories and to ask questions. I was just shocked that this genre wasn't really present in theater.
Yeah.
There was horror theater, like I'm coming at you through the curtain, and there was like scary theater that made you jump.
Yeah.
But the idea of using this Southern come Victorian England macabre way of telling stories to get at deeper questions was just not present in much of American theater. So in my narcissistic way, I was decided, well, then we'll fix it. So the trilogy came out of that, with the idea that it was a really underutilized genre in American theater.
What do you hope an audience will take away from the experience of the Arsonists and the trilogy altogether? But specifically the Arsonists.
Specifically the Arsonists. That's a great question. It's interesting because for me, it was very cathartic, personally, to write a play about letting go in different ways and at different stages of life. What's been interesting in watching audiences, as we have people who experience that same cathartic experience and cry, and at the end feel like there's been this amazing release. And then there are people who watch the story and are very compelled by, like, they want to go home and call their parents and say, I love you. Or, it makes them hold their partner a little closer and a little tighter. Mm-hmm. And I love all of those. If audience members have a cathartic experience that is more of a letting go and a connecting them with the deeper visceral levels of life and afterlife, and that's awesome. But if people just go home wanting to hug their loved ones and have a little more appreciation, which I think we forget to sometimes in everyday life, of the people around us, if they stop and take a minute to acknowledge the humanity of each of us and what they bring to our lives, like, I love that.
Great. Will there be a press copy of the soundtrack?
Oh, you know what? I don't know if there's a press copy, but I bet I can find you a hookup. We'll get you a soundtrack.
Yes, because I'm going to need to hear all of it. Well, the production is called The Arsonists. Mm-hmm. It is produced by Azuka Theatre Company. It is written by Jackie Goldfinger. The amazing Jackie Goldfinger is part of the Southern Gothic trilogy. It is the final installment of the Southern Gothic trilogy. By the time you listen to this, tickets are definitely on sale now, and you can get them. You can experience this through the 21st of May in Philadelphia through Azuka Theatre Company. But if you somehow miss it, or this interview goes across the country like I plan it, you can also catch it in Cincinnati at the No Theater.
Yes.
You can also catch it in Sacramento at Capitol Stage, and you can catch it in Juneau and Anchorage through Perseverance Theater.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. And I was just saying, like, I can't believe after over 450 interviews, there are still people that I've only talked to once or haven't talked to yet. And our community is so vibrant, so very vibrant.
I know people say it over and over, but it's true.
Such a very vibrant community.
Oh, that's a good nutter, I have to say. Yeah, well, and it's so true, and it's continuing on. And one of the things that's been amazing is while arts funding is dropping, we still have the community here that's supporting each other.
Yes. So come say hi to Azuka Theatre Company and come experience The Arsonists at the Louis Bluer Theater at the Drake. Jackie, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
This podcast is brought to you by Broad Street Review, the website where art and ideas meet. Since 2005, BroadStreetReview.com is the place knowledgeable Philadelphians turn for honest, independent, and passionate criticism and commentary about Philadelphia's dynamic arts scene. Join the conversation. It's free. You can reach Broad Street Review online at broadstreetreview.com. Follow us on Twitter at Broad Street Review and like us on Facebook. To show your support for this podcast and our Philadelphia area arts coverage, please go to broadstreetreview.com and click the button at the top of the page that says Contribute. Thank you for helping to keep the conversation going.